little wreck conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration ain't late me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me.
Thank you, Vandello, and welcome back to Rhett Conversations. My name is Josh Wasta, a.k.a. Fallout Fury. And with me, she gets knocked down, but she gets up again. You're never going to keep her down. It's Leia Cameron.
Wow, what a great intro! So appropriate for this,
Right? I'm actually at this point trying to actually set up the
keep it
quotes.
relevant to the episode.
Yeah. And with us, my beautiful wife, the Baronessa, Miss Jennifer Howland, is back for part 2.
Yes, I am here for it.
Of Human Target by Tom King.
And I am not auditing. I am the guest.
You are the business.
I am the business.
And you came prepared.
Nice Blade Runner reference there, darling.
Absolutely. And you came prepared.
I did. I have my Glenfiddich 15 in my air quotes cut crystal glass with a little ice cube. I do like a little bit of ice in my Glenfiddich 15. It opens it up.
Well, so does Christopher Chance. So with this is a hot start.
Yep. If you all have not listened to Human Target Part 1, it is highly recommended because you're going to be jumping into the second part of a 2-part series.
And let me tell you, go listen to the first episode because boy, howdy.
So we are going to find out the conclusion of what happens to our poisoned friend, Mr. Christopher Chance, the Human Target. But if you all have not listened to an episode before, again, go back to Human Target Part 1. But if you're like, nope, I do what I want, this is how this show's going to go. The professor that will be presenting is Leia, Professor L. She will be taking Jen step by step through Human Target, Volume 2 by Tom King. If Jen has any smartass comments, questions, anything else, she can pull the emergency brake on the entire show and ask me, the assisting professor, Professor J, any questions she deems worthy. At that point, it is my job to come up with an answer. If I do not have an answer, and actually the expert on this is Leia, I will throw it back over to Professor L. If neither of us have an answer, it goes back to Jen, who just gets to make up an answer.
Bonus round. Yeah. So you should say it's not just the guest that does that. It's when I audit.
Right. Usually it becomes canon.
Yes, I make up the answer.
It is why Mr. Fantastic is forever known as Stretch Armstrong.
That's right. He deserves every second of it.
Which we really should have you sit in on the season finale, which I'm excited to say is friend of the show, Adam Witt, is going to take us through a Fantastic Four story, Leia and I, to explain why the Fantastic Four are noteworthy.
I really should join that show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make me love the Fantastic Four, Mr. Witt.
That was my challenge.
Yeah. And if anybody can do it, he can. So I have full confidence.
So, any questions before we begin?
No.
Okay, let's start on Human Target, Volume 2. Professor L, take it away.
Okay, so this covers issues 7 through 12. So again, if you didn't listen to the first half, you should, otherwise you're going to be super confused. We open up in a jazz club, like an old-fashioned, 19 whatever, like 1950s style jazz club. There's a lounge singer, there's a piano, and there's some dancing. Christopher Chance is dancing with a green-haired woman that we kind of slowly realize is fire. It's not ice, it's fire. They are slow dancing at this jazz club, and it is interrupted by a robbery. Pretty easily and quickly, Fire uses her powers to stop it by essentially superheating the metal in the guns. And fucking up the robbers, and they just continue dancing. Later, they're walking down a street, and Christopher mentions that it's late. But Fire is not done with the evening yet. She wants to go on a Ferris wheel. Well, it's like the middle of the damn night, and and so Christopher uses his Lex Luthor impersonating abilities to call somebody up, pretend to be Lex Luthor, and get the Ferris wheel down on the boardwalk open for them,
Nice.
so they could go and get their little Ferris wheel ride. It's pretty slick.
My favorite part of this scene is that, like, the guy starts to push back. He's like, I can do it in the morning. We can do it tomorrow night if you want. And he's like, son, you have two choices. I can repeat my request and you and your family can face the consequences of wasting my time. Or you could say, yes, Mr. Luthor, I'll get it done.
And that is how he responds.
Yes, it is.
So they go up on the Ferris wheel. Once they get to the top of the Ferris wheel, Fire again, very subtly uses her powers to get them stopped at the top. And they have a conversation. They have a conversation about the things that Chris has found out so far. He tells her that he followed the trail and it led to her. She got money from Martian Manhunter. That lines up with the money that Booster Gold got. She got the water that ended up in the cocktail that was used on him, the poison. He points out that, she must have been very pissed that Ice died, and, she wanted revenge on Lex Luthor for killing her. She tells Christopher her tragic backstory about growing up in the favelas in Brazil, and basically being, she's a very, very pretty young girl, and everybody kind of wanted to acquire her as a possession for, all intents and purposes. Christopher assures her that he doesn't want to own her. He doesn't want to have sex with her. What he does want is he wants her to catch him, and he throws himself off the top of the Ferris wheel. And sure enough, she catches him and is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He tells her, well, if you did it, we're even now. You killed me, but you also saved me, so it's all good. It all evens out. He tells her, he's the human target. He wins by dying, and she's mad because she's like, were you going to kill yourself to try to get a confession? And he's like, and she tells him, what did you even think about Ice? Like, what about her? And he's like, oh, I know you'll always take care of her. You'd even kill for her. You had the weapon, you had the motive, you did it. And she slaps him, and she goes to do it again, and he stops her. And that's where that scene ends. We then cut to the next morning.
I will say in the library of different just one panels that I want to frame and put on my wall, Christopher Chance holding Fire's wrist and her saying, bet you want to kiss me now, with the Ferris wheel in the background. It's such a great panel.
I was just going to say, the artwork is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
No,
it's implied that by her using her fire powers to, because she can fly, but it is implied, although never seen, that in order for her to use her fire powers, like the clothes that she was wearing basically burns off.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we see her next, after she has, successfully caught Christopher, she's simply wearing his suit jacket and nothing else. And it is not explicit, like the artwork is not showing any boobies or hoo-ha, but that particular panel that Josh was talking about it's suggestive, but not in a gross way. It's really well done.
Yeah, it's fucking gorgeous, is what it is. It's
Smallwood has outdone himself in this series. I will talk about this art in this series until I fucking die. It's so good.
It is so good.
So anyway, so he wakes up the next afternoon to find Ice in bed with him. And they spend the early afternoon basically having sex. After that is done, Fire invites them to meet up with her because she says that Christopher has passed her test. So they meet up with her, sure enough, and she's like, I tried to push him, every which way, and at no point did he make a move on me. Did he hit on me or try to do anything to me? He's a good dude. Um, so Fire gets to the point about why she wanted to meet up with them. She confesses partially. She admits to getting the money from Martian Manhunter and the water from Booster, but insists that she didn't kill anyone. She doesn't want her name attached to this. And she after a little bit of pushing, she's like, oh, I don't know if I want to tell you, you're gonna kill him. She reveals that the water that she got, the special water from Booster, she gave to Guy Gardner. So this is interesting, right? Because Guy is dead.
Yeah, for those who do not remember from the first volume, Guy Gardner in this is even more of a dick than he normally is. And is also, has been killed by Ice and Christopher Chance.
Right. So Guy was the one who wanted to kill Luther. She says, he said that, he wanted to kill Luther for also for killing Ice. And remember, that's her ex-boyfriend. So, he was the one who did it. And then, of course, she doesn't know. Fire doesn't know, but Christopher and Ice know. Guy's already dead.
I was going to say, that seems very convenient, dependent on him.
It sure does, doesn't it?
Yes.
So that's where that issue ends. So then so we're now on day 8. And Ice and Christopher Chance are awakened by getting shot at.
I hate it when that happens.
I know, just another day in the life, right? There is a brief, hurry, get down, but it's not quick enough. Ice is hit in the neck with a tranquilizer dart. And Christopher manages to get off a few shots through the door, kind of opening up a hole in the door of the motel room. And when he looks, there's somebody standing in front of it. This person is called Rocket Red. Rocket Red is, for as far as I can tell, for all intents and purposes, kind of the DC analog to Red Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
So DC has a thing for alliteration.
Yes,
they do.
I mean, I can't fault them for that because I too enjoy alliteration.
But yeah, so for all intents and purposes, he's a member, I believe, of the Justice League as well. I don't
Justice League International.
Yeah, I don't know too much more about him than that, other than he's affiliated with the Justice League and is basically their answer for Red Guardian. He's got kind of like an Iron Man sort of suit on him, except Russian.
Oh my god. I just almost choked. He's Iron Man, but Russian.
But not Whiplash.
No.
Right.
No.
I want my bird.
But you kind of have to imagine all of his dialogue being in that accent. So Christopher is taken out by this guy as well, tranquilized as well. And he wakes up on the floor of some place, some house, some apartment. And Rocket Red, who I struggled to not call Red Guardian. Rocket Red is like playing chess alone in another room, which is, again, something that apparently Russians just do. And Christopher's like, what the hell happened? What's going on? Do you have a drink? And Rocket Red tells him that in Russia they don't drink without a reason. It's for celebratory occasions. It's earned. It's not freely given. And Christopher's like, cool, all right, well, why don't we pour this one for you then? And he's like, well, why? Why is this special? And Chris is like, well, after what you did to Ice, this is your last drink before I break your fucking neck. So they drink. They both do a shot of vodka, and then Rocket Red very quickly punches him out. He's knocked unconscious again. Christopher is unconscious. This issue. There's going to be a lot of going in and out of consciousness as a warning. When he wakes up again, he's like in a field between two like training dummies, and Rocket Red is just shooting missiles at him. And it's like, oh, good, you're awake, like. And so what he's trying to do, so he's trying to get Christopher to confess. Christopher won't do it. He gets knocked out again. When he wakes up again, Rocket Red is just holding him in the air like 20,000 miles above the earth, and he asks, where's Guy Gardner? And Christopher's like, no clue. Rocket Red drops him. He falls. He's caught again. Rocket Red is like, hey, look, where the fuck is Guy Gardner? And Christopher's like, I don't fucking know. He's dropped for a third time, wakes up again. He's in some sort of, I guess, basement area, and he's handcuffed. Rocket Red is like, hey, you missed dinner, but I saved you a drink. And he just hucks a bottle at Christopher's head. And Rocket Red points out that he has he's checked to see if there's any records of Guy Gardner going off planet. And he checked to see if Guy Gardner is still on Earth, and there's no answers. There's no signal. He's not on Earth. He's not off Earth. It's really weird. He also reveals that there's a trace signature of the Green Lantern ring energy on Christopher Chance, and it's around his neck. So maybe Guy Gardner was strangling him, and Christopher Chance just killed him and is now concealing up that crime. He beats him up a little bit. And it still nothing. Christopher taunts him by asking, what kind of name is Rocket Red? You sound like a fucking candy bar. And he gets knocked out again.
Yeah, FYI, this is the only missed opportunity I saw in this book, and that is to go back to where Rocket Red is searching for Guy's missing, his signature, and finds Luigi using the ring to make pizzas.
Truly.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
I find Super Mario Brother.
But I also, at this point, have to say that, and it's decided completely, even before this episode is over, that this is my favorite DC character.
Yes, 100,000%.
So we got to go back because we ran into the two hardcover editions. We'll need to go back and pick those up. I had to choose between the two hardcover editions or Mr. Miracle, and I chose Mr. Miracle.
And that's fine. Yeah. And that's completely warranted.
Yes.
Because who amongst us does not enjoy a superhero comic that involves veggie trays?
Yeah, you know what? We got a veggie tray yesterday when we had people over. And I dipped a carrot in some ranch, and I turned to Adam, and I was like, "Dark side is."
That's fantastic.
I can't eat a veggie tray anymore without thinking of that.
I couldn't laugh out loud because I had scotch in my mouth, and I wasn't about to spray that.
Right.
Not Glenfiddich 15.
Right.
This is not an ad, by the way. This is just a scotch that I love.
Although if Glenfiddich would like to sponsor our show.
Or just me.
Yeah, or just Jen. Oh my god, that's like the midwinter that I had somebody sponsor me by just having me wear a t-shirt of their gut rot apple pie.
Oh god.
And just walk around, and that's all I drank all weekend was his apple pie.
Oh my god. Wilford Brimley time.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, this would definitely be the perfect way to get that brand recognition in there with all the liquor that's in this series.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, so when he wakes up again, when Christopher wakes up again, he is back in the hotel room, which is a little surprising, and he's with Ice, and he's also with Rocket Red
Without his suit.
without his suit. And Ice explains that Red's here to apologize. There was an alert that went out on the Justice League communications saying that Guy Gardner unexpectedly moved to another dimension. He's on a mission, and there's limited communication in this other dimension, but he was able to talk to him, and he realizes he made a mistake.
Did
He
he?
brought a bottle of vodka to apologize, and
Speaking of product placement, I
Yes.
actually do recognize this bottle.
yes, it is a
Russian
bottle of Stoli. Stolichnaya, which used to be my drink of choice, like back in the day. But yes, bottle of Stolichnaya. And Christopher, accepts the bottle, takes it from him, and then fucking breaks it over his head.
Again, my favorite DC character.
Yeah. And he's pissed, and for good reason, because this cost him an entire fucking day.
Yeah.
All of this bullshit was an entire fucking day wasted, getting knocked out, getting woken back up again, getting knocked out. He's missing a whole day, and he doesn't have much more time left. He eventually, so we cut back to him. He's in bed with Ice. It's implied that she kind of knocks him out this time,
Again.
and to calm him down, basically, because he was
Right.
ready to kill this dude. And he thanks her for sending the video, and says, sounds like that voice program worked. And so it's implied that, or it's stated really that Ice used this kind of fake out to fuck with the Justice League, to convince them the guy was fine.
Interesting.
And they go to sleep, and that's the end of that of day 8. Day 9, Ice wakes up to find that Christopher is not breathing and is either has no or a very weak pulse. She does a little CPR and manages to get him to the doc, to Doc Midnight's lab or hospital or whatever the fuck.
Hotel Artemis.
Yes.
So they get him they get him fixed up, and of course the first thing that he does is take a drink out of his flask. And so this is an interesting issue too, because this issue is the paranoia issue. He starts out kind of like thinking to himself about like he should be here by now. Where is he? Enough time has passed. He's got to be on to me by now. Where the hell is he? He drives them out into like the desert and is kind of checking the rear view and whatnot. And there's nobody else around. Ice is kind of asking him like, hey, what's going on? Like, are you okay? And he's like, yep, everything's great. Just on my way. Oh, by the way, I lied to you. The poison that I took is killing me. Best the doc could give me was 12 days, and I have 4 left. So there's that, and she's like, holy shit. They go to a diner. He sees a random man just eating his breakfast there, and is like, this has got to be the guy. This is it. It's not a perfect match, but he's wearing sunglasses, and that's good enough for me. He gets up from the chair and just starts beating the absolute piss out of this dude. And he's like, hey, I what's the point? Aren't you tired of this shit? Stop fucking with me. And the guy's like, what are you talking about? And Ice is like, are you insane? Have you lost your entire fucking mind? She very hurriedly leaves a very extravagant tip for the waitress, and like rushes Christopher out. And meanwhile Christopher's internal dialogue is like, he's got to be watching me from a distance, watching me panic. He's on his way. He's in disguise. He could be here any minute. Like, we got to get moving. And then they hit the road again. Ice at this point is like, what the fuck is happening? You tell me this shit about how you're dying and you've only got a few days, and you just started a fight in a diner with a totally random person just minding his own business. What is going on? And Christopher just isn't talking at this point. He's just like, I gotta keep going, you know. And ice actually causes like a little bit of a black ice on this desert road to try to get him to slow down. They're going over 100 miles an hour. The car spins out and off the road. When we see them next, you know, the car is fucked up. They're fine. And they just start walking through the desert. And they have a little bit of an existential conversation here. They talk about dying. You know, and she mentions to him that when she died, it was just, you know, one minute she was alive and the next minute nothing. And then she woke back up again. And that scared her more than anything because there wasn't any in between. There was just 1 minute you're there, 1 minute you're not.
Yes, you do.
You know, and Christopher, I mean, this whole conversation is so fucking good. I encourage everybody to read it because I'm not going to go line by line here, even though I desperately want to. The writing is so fucking tight when they talk about the, you know, this existential conversation about dying.
Well, and we also revisit something that we've kind of skimmed over in parts 1 and 2, and that's Christopher watched his dad die.
Yes.
Begging for his life on his knees, and he brings it up a lot. It is his core trauma.
Yes, and it is something that just haunts him every day. So, you know, he's like, I don't want to go out like that, you know, begging on my knees for somebody to spare me, and you know, it is really what motivates him to be who he is. To be the human target, because he couldn't be the target for his dad when his dad was shot and killed in front of him because he was just a child. So while they are having this conversation in the desert, Ice creates essentially an ice house for them. It is a mid-century modern ice house complete with a mid-century modern car in the driveway, just entirely made out of ice in the desert. So they go inside, and they talk about, you know, kind of what they did. He's like, you know, that, hey, we sent this message with Guy, it being in another dimension, but you know, somebody better than me would be able to see right through that. You know, now we've essentially broken that glass in case of emergency, and now we got to pay the price. And Ice is like, well, who the fuck is better than you? Like, what does that even mean? And Christopher replies with, Batman. Batman's better than me. And Ice is like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, that motherfucker.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The detective in Detective Comics. That guy.
Yeah.
Batman.
World's greatest detective, huh?
Right.
I will not lie, that was in my head before you said it.
So he's like, you know, he's got to know. Batman's got to know by now. He's got to know everything that we did. He's gonna arrest us. You know,
Batman cannot arrest you. I'm sorry.
Which kind of makes me laugh because I don't think I've ever actually seen Batman arrest anybody.
No.
I mean, he beats the shit out of them, throws them in the back of the Batmobile, and drives them to Arkham.
Yeah,
That's kind of like arresting them.
It's a citizen's arrest.
Citizen's arrest. I just had, like, you know, Mayberry in my head when you said that. Hashtag I'm old.
But Christopher reveals, basically, he's like, you know, I don't care if I die in a prison or a hotel room. It doesn't make a difference. Either way, I'm going to die. But he says, you know, that I can't lose any more days with you. I love you. That's all. I fucked up. And Ice is like, you know what? Let's go to bed. And they do. When Chris wakes up again, it's near midnight. And he realizes very slowly that Batman is not in fact coming after them. Like, there's nobody out there. They've been in the same place for hours. If he wanted to come in and do something. He had plenty of opportunity. It's been an entire day and still completely alone, which means that Batman must have figured out that Guy Gardner is still alive, and that's where that issue ends. Now we saw Guy Gardner get hit by a fucking truck.
I know. I'm like so curious face.
So that was when I was reading this in single issues. I was like, "What in the actual hell?"
Right? Like, what do you have to do to get rid of that asshole?
Right. Like in my notes at the end, I just have what? So they go back to the hotel or the motel around noon. So day 10, they return to the hotel and it's around noonish and they share a drink. Ice and him have this drink, and it turns out that he drugged her drink to knock her out. He leaves her asleep on the bed and goes out. He meets up with a character that I honestly am wholly unfamiliar with, but is fucking hilarious, which is Gnort.
So once you get into the world of the fucking lanterns, you need to understand that there are so many weird ass fucking characters in it. Like there's a Red Lantern that is a ordinary Earth cat that, because red is the color of anger, the cat was like loved one person in the world and she was murdered, like one human, and she was murdered, and so somebody came around and was like, "That's an angry fucking cat. Have a ring." Like,
wow.
Gnort is another of those weird. He is the fuck up deputy cop.
He looks like John Candy's character in Spaceballs.
In Spaceballs,
Yes.
That's exactly what I said. That is exactly what I said when I first read this issue, and Adam was like, "I don't know what that is." So I again continued to be elderly.
Barf. He's a Mog, half man, half dog.
And I mean, I don't even do the Star Wars, but I at least have seen Spaceballs. It was a very long time ago, but I was like, if that wasn't the character model for Greg Smallwood, I would eat my hat, because it looks exactly like him, except in a Green Lantern like sweatsuit.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not even like the flashy, awesome Green Lantern like suit. He made sweatpants.
Yeah.
And the little vest.
And the thing that you need to know about Gnort is that he is just kind of a well-meaning dope. He is the half-ass coworker everybody has in their office that just manages to like maintain the status quo while just being an incredible like layabout and fuck up. The one who's just like, "Oh man, I napped through that meeting." That's Gnort. So they have a conversation. And Christopher's like, "Hey, guy's missing. Maybe we should go to the headquarters and look for, see if we can find out where he went to." And Gnort has basically they made him a doorway to get to this. So it's called Oa, I believe.
Yeah,
the Green Lantern planet or dimension or whatever the fuck, I don't know. And he's like, Gnort's like, "Yeah, most of the Green Lanterns they'll fly there, but I'm such a ding dong that they just made me like a special door. Because it was too hard for me to fly there. Like I got lost one time and ended up in the middle of like some kind of space war, and it was a bad time. And so now they just made me a door so I could just go there without having to fly."
Before they use this door, he also specifically says, "I've never tried to take anyone with me. They may have mentioned something about not doing that, but I don't remember. I wasn't really paying attention."
Yeah. Yeah. The Guardians say a lot of things, and I don't always, pay attention to them. It should be okay, I think. We'll find out real soon.
And by the way, because these kind of characters are things that I need to research, he was based on Ed Norton from The Honeymooners.
Oh my god. Oh shit. So
Not
yeah, so they go to this Green Lantern planet or whatever the hell.
Not Edward
Um,
Norton.
No, they're not the same person. So as they're going through the halls of this Green Lantern like archive, basically, Gnord's like, oh yeah, just please don't tell anybody that I brought you here. I brought Superman here one time, and they like yelled at me, and it was like that was a bad time. And I mean, it's Superman, and he's like the ultimate good guy. So if they yelled at me for bringing him, they're definitely gonna bring me for yelling for telling you. So like, don't tell anybody, man. And he multiple times during the course of this, he talks about how during orientation he fell asleep and doesn't really remember it that well. Because it keeps referring to like so the lanterns have essentially have files on almost everybody in the universe. They just collect data on people. Who, regardless of whether or not they're bad guys, they could be, but who knows. And he's like, yeah, it's not like they're spying on everyone. At least that's what they said in orientation. Although I don't remember it that well because I was asleep for most of it. And so the files are kind of like they're computer files. They're less, even though they're like in an archive like building. They're basically like I don't even know if computer is the right word. Space files. I don't know.
They take the like green form of.
They're Green Lantern files.
Yes, they are in the like green shape that everything constructed by the Green Lanterns are in, but it does look like a hard copy that just appears in your hand.
Yeah, and he's like, in everybody's file, not only does it have like information on their background and their history and their deeds and stuff like that, but it also tells you what their current location is, because they're constantly updating, right? So like they're being tracked. He's like, I'm not sure we're supposed to look at it because somebody, they might have mentioned that in orientation. I don't really know. He says, I get lost in my own bathroom sometimes, but luckily I got this ring. It really helps me out. Like it's got a good head for this stuff.
How did he become a Green Lantern? I mean, seriously.
For that, you will need to check out Justice League International number 10.
See, he was prepared.
I was going to say, no clue, no idea.
He is the product of the late 80s.
I was going to say, what if I don't want to check out that comic?
Well, then you're going to have to Google it yourself.
You just have to accept this character as he is in this series.
Okay, so he's barf.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Christopher just kind of passes him his flask because he starts looking through Guy's file. Gnort predictably just gets wasted. And Christopher also reads his own file. I should also point out here too that as he's looking through Guy's file, there's nothing in there about him dying.
Of course not.
Which because he asks like, hey, isn't like what's documented? He's like, a death would definitely be documented in the file.
It's in the lower right-hand corner of the last page.
Yeah. So Christopher also comes across his file and reads it, and I mean it has every deed he's ever done in there, and it just kind of goes on like that for a couple of pages. And as Gnort passes out on his shoulder, drunk, he thinks, I've got 3 more days and I'm so fucking scared. There is a little Oompa Loompa man that comes across them.
I'm trying to remember what the name of this race is. They're the leaders,
right,
of the Green Lantern Corps.
Right, they're the ones that tried to make themselves look like massive giants, and then they turned out to be Oompa Loompas.
Yes.
I remember the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
Well, I kind of said that to be eschatological because there are lots of people who hate that movie so much.
The Guardians.
The Guardians.
Yes. Okay. So that's who that is. Yeah, he comes across a extremely wasted Gnord, and like Christopher just kind of carrying him out of the archive area. And Gnort's like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize there were access forms. I had some problems at Orient, and just puke all over this shit. This guy is like, are you drunk in the sacred halls of what the and is like, well, you see, and just super kicks this guy in the face and knocks him out.
I slipped.
And Gnort's like, we should probably go. And Chris is like, cool, do you mind if we stop at the store on the way? So they stop briefly at this drugstore, pick up a couple things, and Gnort's like, oh hey, they should they should really work hard to find Guy because he's a good guy, he's a decent dude, and Chris just doesn't say shit. It's like, all right. It turns out that Guy Gardner is playing pool in a bar not 20 minutes from where they last saw him get hit by this truck, because he's a real piece of shit. And he's using his Green Lantern powers to cheat at pool.
Okay, again, what is the basis for becoming a Green Lantern? Because these people who are the Guardians seem to choose really inappropriately.
They're space cops.
They're choosing people really inappropriately.
Yeah,
Cops.
Okay.
I don't know a ton about the Green Lantern verse and whatever, but I do know. I think at this point in the podcast where we've encountered Green Lantern stuff, I can confidently say that I fucking hate the Green Lanterns. They just seem like the biggest waste of time. I don't know. Listeners, prove me wrong.
Yeah. Seriously, I'm with you, Leia. Like, what the fuck?
Like this is the dumbest shit. But neither here nor there. So they come across Guy in this pool hall, and Guy's like, oh fuck. And Gnort is like, hey, did you know that there was an alert that went out saying that you were in a different dimension? Did you get that? How come you didn't say anything to anybody that it was wrong? He's just a dope. And Guy just slaps the shit out of him, knocks him out. There's a lot of knocking out going on here. And so Christopher's like, hey man, you want to throw down? Let's do it, but you can't use your ring. And he just fucking hauls out, and there's a fist fight. The two of them just start beating the piss out of each other. And Christopher gets the better of Guy, and then Guy slips his ring on.
Because of course he does. Because he
does.
Cheaty bastard.
Yeah, because he's a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a bit of internal exposition here, from Christopher talking about how, the Green Lantern ring will do whatever it takes to protect the wearer's life while they're wearing the ring. And that's how he figured out that the Guy wouldn't have gotten killed by that truck. The ring would have thrown up a shield. It would have done something. Would have dismantled the truck, whatever it is, but he wouldn't have just unexpectedly been hit by a truck and died. The ring wouldn't have allowed that. However, the ring isn't omnipotent and can't necessarily sense like subtle threats. And something like what he's about to do is going to fly under its radar just enough. He reaches into his pocket and then takes his hand out of his pocket and like slaps Guy across the face as Guy is getting ready to throw a punch at him. This causes Guy to be like, what the is that? Oh no. Turns out that Guy Gardner has a severe peanut allergy.
It was in his file. He found it in his file. And he mentions that, the only reason not to share that vital information with your ring, that you have a severe peanut allergy, is if you're an insecure idiot and you think admitting any weakness is an insult to your supposed masculinity, which is perfect because this character is exactly that guy.
Yes.
And Christopher's like, hey, look, I used to have a gig where I was a doctor, faking to be a doctor for something. I wrote myself a prescription for an EpiPen. Would you like it? All you gotta do is tell me why and how you're alive, and you can get that nice little EpiPen. And Guy just gives him the Orange Cassidy thumbs up, and and that's how that scene ends.
End scene.
End scene. But we cut back to the motel, and Christopher is pouring Ice another drink. And he's like, "Look, I drugged you so I could have some time to talk to Guy." And Ice is like, "What are you talking about? He's dead." And Chris is like,
FYI, it was not the truck hitting him. It was Ice freezing him and then him shattering.
yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Because that'll be important for this next
Yeah.
part.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I already know where we're going.
So Chris is like, "Hey, look, I get it now. You asked Guy to fake his death, using his ring to basically bend light into an illusion of him being shattered into a million pieces. You told him to hide out for a week, and he genuinely, for whatever reason, genuinely thought that you'd just go out with him again if he just did what he was told." And Ice is like, I can, Christopher, like, I can explain. And Christopher raises his glass and says, "Here's to us." And that's how that issue ends. So this is day 11 now. It is the last day. They decide to go to the beach. They spend the day at the beach, swimming, hanging out in the water, spending time together. And eventually they swim so far out that they can no longer see land. Ice creates a little ice island for them to lounge on. And Ice, Christopher's like, "Hey," they're kind of cuddling in this ice beach chair. And Ice is like, "Hey, why didn't you just go to the Justice League?" And he replies with, "Why didn't you kill me?" She admits that it would have been easy to do, but she didn't. And he tells her, "I appreciate you doing it the hard way." There's a beautiful series of 6 panels here that, again, I would hang on my wall, but this is like an absolute, Tom King is so good at these fucking emotional gut punches. They're lying there. She's kind of like lying on his chest, and they're hanging out, and he asks, "Will you miss me?" And she says, "Shut up." And Chris is like, "I got lucky, I won't miss you. I'll just be gone." And she just starts to cry. They talk a little bit more about, how she died. They were fighting somebody called Overlord, and he took her out, and or Overmaster, sorry, not Overlord. And then she was resurrected somehow. And they were like, "Congratulations, he's long gone, you're safe, isn't that great?" And she's got this reputation in the Justice League for just being this, kind and sweet girl who, everybody can underestimate because she's just so nice. And Guy comes to her and he's mad. Luther is the one who did it. We've got to do something. Guy says he's got a plan for revenge. But of course, Ice, you won't like it because you're so sweet and so kind. But it's necessary. We gotta kill Lex Luthor. And she's like, I know that Guy is gonna bungle it because he's Guy. He's fucking incompetent. And Lex is gonna get away with it again, and the Justice League will fight them. And the next day that everybody will all just laugh like, "Oh, that crazy Lex, got to go after him again." And that was there that she decided to, she gets the idea that she's got to be the one to do it. She's got to kill Lex. She goes to Fire and tells her everything about it. And Fire, to her credit, tries to talk her out of it. And it's like, you can't do this. But she pushes, and Fire is finally like, "Fine, if you're gonna do it, don't do it in the obvious way," because Ice was gonna just literally freeze his heart. And Fire is like, "Don't do it in a way that will make people know that it's you. That would be a very obvious tell, right?" So do something boring, do something pedestrian, very easy, very vague, a gun, a knife, poison. And Fire volunteers to figure out Lex's security detail and what might be able to pass through it. And we just need a little help getting some of the ingredients for this poison. We collect everything. and they wait, and she gets a call from Dr. Midnight saying, Lex got away again, haha, instead she's poisoned this Christopher Chance guy. And Fire is panicked because that poison needed to die along with Lex Luthor. Because Christopher survived, that meant the doctor got a sample of it, which meant that he could trace where this poison came from. There are 5 Justice League people involved in this poison component. So this is very bad, very, very bad. And Fire decides that maybe it'd be a good idea for Ice to keep an eye on Christopher during this time, because she's so sweet and so nice that he'd never suspect. And she followed him through the whole thing. How he found out about Booster and Beetle and Fire and John, and then they tried to trick him with the guy faking his death, and then Fire confessed that guy did it, and he's dead now, so don't worry about anything. And anyways, enjoy the rest of your couple days on Earth. And Ice says, all we had to do was wait a few days. In a few days, guy can come back, and Fire and I can get back down to business to find another way to kill Lex Luthor. We just needed to be patient, wait it out, and wait for you to die. And Christopher just kind of listens and is like, hey, do you think you could freeze the whole ocean? I want to skip some rocks. And she asks him, when you found out that you were poisoned, does it matter who killed you? You're still going to die one way or the other. And he's like, baby, I'm the human target. That's all I do. it's all I do is die to find out who killed, quote unquote, me. They sit there on this little ice island for hours, just kind of quietly. They finally swim back, meet back up at the boardwalk, start to head home, and they're almost all the way to the car before Ice suddenly just kind of explodes the car with some ice. There's a bunch of ice shards just kind of sticking out of it, and she's pissed. I'm not so sweet and nice. And then she hauls off and slaps Christopher, and is like, I did it. I fucking did it. You don't even have the courage to care that I tried to kill somebody, which is like the worst thing. So it's all well and good, pretending that it's all fine, but it's not fine. I'm a fucking monster. I tried to kill somebody, and that person is you, the person that I care about. How fucking stupid are you to continue to spend time with me now that you know all this? And sorry, hang on, I lost my place. So Ice is furious about what she did, and she is like, I did it. I deserve to be punished for this. You're not going to end it begging for love from your fucking killer. Your whole life was spent trying to avoid that, to be like your dad, and you're asking me to live with that knowledge that you're going to let me get away without being punished. And she takes out his gun, puts it in his hand, and puts it to her head, and is like, I all this time you've been looking for who did it, so you could punish him. Here it is. I get to give this to you, and I'll do it because I love you. And there's a beautiful panel of them just on the beach at sunset with just Christopher holding a gun to her head. It shouldn't be beautiful,
yeah,
but it is. And that's where it ends. That's day 11. Day 12, Ice comes into the hotel room, which is locked, so she freezes the knob off, and Christopher's there in bed, and he is dead. The poison has finally, of course, on the bedside table next to Christopher's body is a note written on some hotel stationery, and all it says is, I love you too. Ice then goes to Luigi, so it's day 16 now. Ice visits Luigi. Luigi talks about how Christopher left so much money that he doesn't really need anything anymore, and he's maybe he'll go traveling. And Ice admits that she still kind of looks for him in the crowd. Anybody could be him. He was very good at pretending to be other people, but Luigi is like, you know what, he was many people, but no one else was him. We then cut to Ice and Fire hanging out at her apartment.
Sorry, really, really quick, because again, it's these side characters that I fucking love. She thanks him in Italian. There's a beat, and Luigi says, I should have learned Italian. It would have made this whole thing more believable.
Yes. Well, you know, like I'm a pizza.
You don't like I'm a pizza pie.
It's just
it's just the icing on the cake of Luigi. It's just mwah, chef's kiss.
The writing, again, you know, I jerk off about Tom King all the time, but the writing is honestly so fucking good. And even just these little side characters, these little beats that you get those kinds of, you know, details from is so good.
Well, we were I sent you a picture. We were in a comic book store the other day in Iowa City, and there was just a shelf, because they do artists or writers you should check out. So they have like a Neil Gaiman shelf and a Warren Ellis shelf, but they had a Tom King shelf, and I took a picture and sent it to you. And I was just like, yeah, I could just grab this entire shelf and walk up to the cash register and know it'd be fine. Like,
yeah, that you're getting some.
Oh yeah, shout out to Daydreams in Iowa City. It's a wonderful little
really
place.
Great shop. They've moved to a smaller space, but you know what? They've done an excellent job of curating what's there. Yeah. And so it's not overwhelming. It's in a really great location. If you're in Iowa City, I highly recommend them.
Well, and their back issues, I didn't even realize that they have 2 rooms of back issues that I didn't see until I was like checking out.
This episode sponsored by Glenfiddich and Daydreams.
Amen.
That's right. Maybe now that we're old, instead of jumping from brewery to brewery for Tour de Fucked Up, we just go from comic book store to comic book store.
That would be very fun. I mean, we've been doing tours of our local libraries.
That's
nice. How we've been spending our time is going to all these different libraries in our area and checking them out, and checking out, of course, the graphic novels, and such.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We have not gotten to. I mean, we still got a lot on our plate, but that's how we spend our time now, is not drinking and going to libraries.
No, that's and then come home, pop an edible, and everything's good.
You bet.
All right, back to Fire and Ice.
All right. Anyway, so Fire and Ice, they are meeting up at Ice's apartment. There's a bottle on the table, a liquor bottle of some type, but not filled with liquor, and they're just kind of staring at it. And Fire exhales some smoke and is like, "Well, fuck. What's in the bottle is not liquor. It's Christopher's ashes, which Ice now has possession of." And she's like, I don't know what to do with it. I should have asked him. I know I don't want it here. Maybe I'll put it in the water. I don't know. And Ice is like, why the bottle? Or Fire's like, why the bottle? And Ice is like, well, it was on his dresser when I found him. He liked that even more than he liked the water. And Fire asks, do you think he told anybody? And Ice basically is like, nope. I even kind of fooled Guy into thinking that he, did something noble, that, that Christopher was like stalking me, and what he did helped me get away. And, he likes thinking that Christopher was the villain. So we're just going to let him do that. And Fire is like, well, okay, so that means we're in the clear. And Ice is like, yep, he's dead. We're free. And just starts sobbing. So they comfort each other. And day 22, Ice is meeting up with Booster, who is talking about how Booster's bagels failed because something in the bread was making everybody sick. He tried pre-toasting, but that didn't help.
Yeah, that was one of my major questions, is they got the water from Booster. Booster was using that water to make bagels.
Yep. And he didn't even, because he's kind of a ding dong, didn't even realize that he was doing something wrong. So they're hanging out, and Martian Manhunter comes up and is like, hello, Ice, can I have a word with you? He walks off with her, and he's like, he says, Christopher Chance is dead. And Ice replies, and they say Batman's the world's greatest detective. And John's a little taken aback. He's like, I wasn't expecting, sarcasm from you. She's like, sure, yeah, because I'm the sweet one. I'm the nice one. Martian Manhunter informs her that he has discovered that there is possible involvement in of the Justice League members in the death of Christopher Chance, and he has confirmed that with Chance's doctor, Dr. Midnight. And he informs her that he is going to lead an inquiry into it. And Ice is like, no, I don't think that's going to be happening. And just starts giving him the dirt on him. Like, I know that you had an affair with Fire. You should have reported that to the Justice League, and you didn't. The way that you hijacked Christopher's mind without his permission, another grievous violation of Justice League code. I think you're pretty unfit for this particular duty. In fact, I'm going to be taking over this investigation. And if you have shit to say about it, don't. Make that the official policy of the league that this case runs through me from now on. And if they ask, tell them that you just did it because I'm so sweet. Day 37, Ice is floating on this little ice floe out in the ocean, along with a bottle of Christopher's ashes. She's kind of talking to him. She's saying that she couldn't decide between, the beach or just like the middle of the water. And she's like, I still don't really know. Maybe both things are wrong. Although I don't know if you would have even given a fuck. Who knows? Guy flies in and is like, hey, babe. And she's like, really?
You have the worst timing,
Just
asshole.
the worst fucking timing. It's like, I just need to make sure my girl was safe. And she kind of is like, oh, well, I guess it's all right to see you here. I know you've been trying to help me. I've just been just out of it. And, sorry, like I should have seen all the ways you tried to help me. He's like, oh yeah, babe, don't worry. In the end, the good guy wins. Just perfect asshole. And she takes that opportunity to bash him over the head with a bottle containing Christopher's ashes.
Chef's
It's really
kiss.
It's really what he would have wanted.
Yes. Yes, it is.
It's what we all wanted.
Yep.
So she's like, yeah, you know what? This'll do. Day 73. It's the middle of the night. It's probably about like 3:30 in the morning. And Ice is in bed, gets up, gets out of bed, goes to the closet, pulls a different bottle out of the closet, opens it, kind of looks into it, and then we have a little bit of a flashback to the last day, when Christopher had the gun to her head when they were on the beach. He tells her to, get up, and he needs a favor from her. And he's like, yeah, the poison. He's like, hey, do you have any more of it? And we pull back to see that the bottle does have some kind of green liquid in it. And Ice almost raises it to her lips and then decides not to, forks it back up, puts it away. Day 110. Ice is in a meeting with Lex Luthor. And he's like, hey, I'm informed that you're following up on the death of Christopher Chance. Why did they have you doing this? I assumed that Batman perhaps would be the guy that was in charge, or the elongated one with his wiggly ears. I don't know who that is, but it's funny.
That is Plastic Man.
Okay.
Another one of my favorites.
He says, he's like, I don't understand why you people don't try to just, struggle to dominate and seize the momentum of existence, instead of just accepting things and whatever. And Ice says, you can't waste all your time pretending to be someone you're not. And he replies, maybe that's why I liked Christopher Chance. And he raises his glass to toast him and says to the human target, like the other guy, he died for our sins, but at least he didn't get all sanctimonious about it. And he takes a sip, and the series closes out on a and a somewhat close up of Ice's little triumphant smile.
But the kid.
And that is how The Human Target ends. I fucking love this book.
Yes. I mean, can you really kill Lex Luthor?
It is so perfect.
No. No, he weaseled his way out of it.
Yeah. It is so good. And I thank you for bringing me through this. Because, at first I'm like, I don't know what this is. But you were like, no, Jen, seriously, you need to know about this comic. And it is so good. It's so good.
So good. I love a good, noir detective murder mystery type story. And the conceit of somebody trying to find their own killer immediately had my attention. So yeah, like this is just it is a perfect 12-issue series. I have no complaints. I have no notes. So I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. And I'm even more happy that you enjoyed the artwork, because again, it is outstanding. I can't emphasize enough that if you are only listening to this and have not actually seen any of the artwork from this, please do yourself a favor. Go to your local library, check it out, and
please.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, it is definitely going on the shelf. Along with pretty much anything Tom King at this point.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Definitely one of my favorite authors that I've discovered throughout the show.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that's it's one of those things, like I don't really go to comics conventions anymore or anything like that, but I'm at this point now, I think that if I found out that Greg Smallwood and or Tom King were at, like, say, C2E2 or something like that, I might make the trip just to talk to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank them for putting out outstanding stories like this, and I would pay for a sketch from Greg Smallwood in the style of The Human Target.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. And pick up issue 1 of The Human Target and have both of them sign it, and then have it framed.
Yeah, like just an incredible piece of work. I can't say enough good stuff about this. There was so much. I mean, if I were so inclined, I could have just read this to you word for word, because again, the writing is so fucking tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Please go out and purchase this book. Look at this book. It's so good.
So I'm going to ask it because I have to, but how did we do?
Really well. I can't. I mean, testament to how many questions did I ask?
Yeah, not many.
Right. And I mean, because it's a mystery, and some of the cliffhangers were so out of nowhere, you would have had every right to be like, wait, guy's alive or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, and from what I understand about DC, even I'm not huge into DC. I'm more of a Marvel person. It kind of covers some great bases, like the entire issue where he's paranoid that Batman is going to come after him is amazing. Batman does not show up on a single panel.
Right.
No.
He's mentioned all over the place.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. He is, and Superman's mentioned, but doesn't show up on the page.
Yeah.
These are dealing with, like, D-list.
Well, the other thing that I like, and this is what I really kind of have an issue with both Marvel and DC, is like you're in the middle of a comic and then they like name drop somebody. And I'm like, how is that furthering this story? It's not at all, but it did here.
Right.
Yeah.
It did.
He's not using like obscure characters. Everybody knows who Batman and Superman are.
Right, but it's like, and they're not being name dropped just because they're DC characters. This would be legitimately something Batman would be looking into.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of, again, I'm much like Josh. I'm not much of a DC person. I don't read a ton of DC, but it definitely seems to me that, Batman comics have kind of, in recent years kind of fallen away from the fact that, like, this dude is legitimately a detective. And he detects things and he's very, very good at it, The
Batman comics that I've seen really stick to it. I mean, there is an entire Tom King run of Batman that I've started to read that leads up to and culminates in the Bruce Wayne Selina Kyle wedding. That again, his style is very good, and he knows the characters that he's dealing with. I would liken it a lot to Gail Simone. Gail Simone, when she gets involved with a character, will deep dive. Like, she'll bring up stuff that you're like, holy shit. Like, one of the things that I just brought up, that I bought when I bought Mr. Miracle was, and it might be a future episode, actually, it might be a good one for you, Jen, is Gail Simone did a Jessica Jones comic called The Variants, where variants of Jessica Jones from the multiverse start showing up. Cool. And Jessica has to deal with it.
I think Adam actually was reading that not too long ago and said that it was outstanding. And
it is.
I remember correctly. He was blown away by it.
Yeah. Well, it's first of all, it's Gail Simone. And she's a phenomenal. She was originally a comic book critic that became a writer. She was the one that coined the women in the fridge. That was one of her most fridging women, but she called it women in refrigerators.
Yeah.
And that was her critique. And the comic book industry took notice and said, well, would you be interested in writing comics? And now she's one of the best writers out there.
Yeah.
I actually had the opportunity to speak to Gail Simone once back in 2013 at C2E2, except we were not in any panel or in any booths. I literally ran into her in the ladies' room.
Nice.
Directly ran into her, like walked into her. And she complimented me on my cosplay.
Nice.
Because I was doing a gender swapped Winter Soldier.
Nice.
And that was it. And I was like, oh my God, I just I don't know if that was real.
But that is
we did not have a long conversation, but I was just so stunned. It's you never expect to run into these people in the washroom, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, our C2E2 story is we got to talk to Max Brooks. Max Brooks. We were there on a pass all day, all 4 days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we got there on Thursday, and there weren't that many people there. Yeah. So he was just sitting at a booth, not doing really anything.
It was one of the first C2E2s.
Yeah. And so we went over, and he was like, I got nothing to do. We were like, oh, we don't want to take up your time. He's like, yeah, because there's a huge line. And so, he talked to us for half an hour, just bullshitting. And he was so gracious and so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, if you do not have anxiety, and you enjoy, conventions are one of the best ways to not only learn about writers, and artists, but also see them, get to, support their work in a way that goes directly to them. Yeah. I've gotten most of my comic book artwork at conventions where I can buy it directly from the artist. They sign it, and then
it's really good. And it can be overwhelming. There can be a lot of people there, but it's if it's something that you're into, make an effort to go to that, because meeting those people, it means a lot to them. And it's not they're people just like us. They want to know
they're just people.
They want to know that people love what they're doing.
Yeah, there's not a writer alive that does not like to hear, I really enjoyed your work, or something you wrote changed my life, or I am a big fan, I've read everything you've ever written. There's something so special about it. And I don't care if you are, Joe independent publishing, or if you're Stephen King, you love to hear it. You love to know that people are enjoying the art you put out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm very adamant about, compliment your writers, compliment your artists, compliment, the people whose work you really enjoy. Tell them that you like it. It will never miss, nobody will be mad that you told them that.
And if full conventions aren't your bag, or that kind of crowd, check your local comic book store. I know Limited Edition up in Cedar Falls, Iowa, Rob does a great job having a lot of artists come through, and he'll announce and just say, hey, we're going to be having a signing with this artist or this writer. They just happen to be coming through, and we're a stop. Awesome. Just awesome. And it's not even just the comic book space. Bookstores will do it. If you have a writer that you really like, get involved.
Yeah.
There's just something really special about having a signed, copy of something that you really enjoy.
Right. For sure. Even libraries too, sometimes will have these
Yep.
types of events, where they'll have an author come in and talk about their work or what have you. Not every library does stuff like that or has the budget to do stuff like that, but it happens from time to time. So there's a lot of ways to do that, or just, shoot them an email or a tweet or whatever, just be like, hey bro, this blew my mind,
Yeah.
That was our episode.
Yeah.
Since I'm moving this up in the schedule, I don't know what we're going to be doing next, but tune in next week for it.
For an episode of something.
Of something.
We'll probably read a comic book of some type.
That's right. And as a reminder, retconversations@gmail.com. If you would like us to explain a comic to you, even if you don't know which one, write us an email and say, hey, I'd be interested in being on your show. We'll send you our pretty extensive list that's only going to get more extensive once friend of the pod, Adam Witt, gets his hands on it.
Yes.
But we do have an extensive list. So we will send you something that we just have. We have these issues, and if you see something that you're like, I don't know what that is, but it sounds interesting, we are taking people for season 5 now. So please reach out. But until that time, and until next week, take it away, Vandello.
A little wreck conversation, some deep reactions, please. All this comics narration alienating me. A little more talk, a lot less read. A little fight, baby, is what I need. Close the trade, open up your brains. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Explain it to me, baby. Explain it to me. Vandello 2021.